Welcome to Chefing Beyond the Kitchen. I'm your host, Mogau. Join us for conversations with amazing people doing amazing things in food. Building iconic heritage brands. Today I have the pleasure of a sit down with marketing director and expert, Thembi Sehloho. Her formidable career in marketing spans over 18 years and includes many accolades such as a Silver Loerie for the Fattis and Monis TV ad, Gold, Silver Prism Awards for the Tastic Heritage campaign, and Sunday Times South Africa's #1 brand crew. She has been instrumental in building many iconic brands during her tenure at Tiger Brands and AVI. Responsible for keeping our favorite food brands in our hearts, at the top shelf of our pantry shelves, and in the market. Welcome to Chefing Beyond the Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invite. Such a pleasure.
So let's start with icebreakers, just before we get into the actual conversation.
Yeah.
When last did you smile and what made you smile?
A week ago,
Yes.
when I was jumping into the ocean with dolphins.
Nice. Where was that?
In Zanzibar.
Oh, nice. That would make me smile.
It was beautiful.
And what's your favorite thing right now?
Travel and looking after myself.
Those are good favorites. And 3 people you'd want to host for dinner, and why?
And why? Yeah, I want to say Oprah, but it sounds so cliche. I would like to host, I think it's Indria Nori. I hope I got her name right. She's the former Pepsi CEO,
Yes.
Indian woman. And why? Because I think, sure, there's so many lessons about leadership that she shares and I would like to learn from. And I resonate with her because she represents to me, you know, an archetype of a woman that we all want to be seen as, like not all, but particularly myself, where you are able to navigate such a complex, challenging career, married, children, and she did all of that. So, and she's still a wonderful leader. I think for me, her leadership, I would like to get some lessons from that.
Absolutely, and I enjoy how vocal she was about, you know, the challenges of balancing both the work and the
Yeah,
life.
that's her. I would love that. And then the other person for me would be Denzel Washington. Sure, it's not just the, you know, we all love Denzel. It's our husband,
Yes.
everybody's husband. But it's just how he remained authentic in an environment that could have changed him. And I think there's a lot of lessons around that, how he remained true to himself. So you don't have to manipulate who you are to succeed in whatever you are doing. So that's what I absolutely love about Denzel, and the fact that he's really absolutely excellent at what he does. So I would love to host him for dinner, and I think he's funny. Just his value system in total, just I'm attracted to that, and I would love to host him for dinner. And his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
They come as a pair.
They come as a pair. Yeah, I would love to host Denzel. And the third one would probably be, and I've met him before, like he did a gig at Tiger when I was at Tiger Brands, for one of our functions when he was still like cheap and accessible, would be Trevor Noah. And for me, it's really about, how does one just straddle all of that and just jump over? And for me, it's how he survived, despite everybody thinking he wouldn't. And because I also love to laugh, I laugh all the time, you know me.
I know.
I think it would be the funniest dinner I'll ever have. And I cook really nice food, Trevor. So yeah.
No, she really does. She really does.
So I would love to sit down with Trevor and just his mind is amazing, and how the evolution of Trevor, and how he's just, you know, like just going from this to becoming that, and how he's really just planning his future for what he sees himself to be in the future, you know. Like I just love that, because I work on brands, and it's always about how you evolve brands. And he's a brand, and I see a brand that's evolving, and he'll be relevant when he's 90.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting for me to sit down with him. And I really just want to love Trevor. Come on.
You say it so casually because I work on brands. People should know she is one of the head honchos of brands in this country. So not so much casual. So Thembi, the podcast is called Chefing Beyond the Kitchen, where we hope to open up the world of food, that it's not just about cooking in the kitchen. There's so much more to food and careers in food than just cooking in the kitchen. So tell me, as a marketing professional, what is it that you do? What is your job? For someone that has never heard of the title, what does a marketing director do?
So I know most people think that we do pretty pictures and pretty ads.
And big budgets.
Big budget. That is the back end of marketing. So marketing is really, a brand is a business. So the reason a company like Tiger Brands is standing is because of the multiple brands that they own. So when you're given the custodianship of a brand, you're technically managing an asset for the business that makes money for the business.
The biggest asset.
The biggest asset of the business after people. I want to stress, people are the biggest asset in any business, but without brands, the company doesn't have value. So when you manage a brand, you manage how you make a baked bean, for example, or how you make Tastic rice, and how you sell it to consumers and making profit from that. So really, Mogau is a brand, and you sell the brand, Mogau, to make money from the brand, and that's what we do. So we manage a P&L every single day. I'm a marketer that's a finance graduate, which really helps in our career as well, because we're managing a P&L. You're really managing how much are you buying the product that makes the brand for, how much are you selling for to consumers, and most importantly, our job is to build the relationship with the brand, with our consumers, so that they want to choose it no matter what. If you think about the brand equity of Coca-Cola, it could be expensive, but people are like, oh, but I want Coke. Because you've built, they've done the work of building the resonance with the brand, and that's our job. And the more people love the brand, we call it brand equity, the more value the brand has in people's hearts, but also the more value it has in the stock exchange. So when AVI wants to sell Baker's biscuits to another person, the value of the brand is what they're selling. They're not really selling a couple of biscuits. They give them the brand. And marketers build that value over time, or they destroy that value over time. So that's really our job. That's what I do on a daily basis. We look at sales. We look at obviously campaigns that we're doing to support those sales. We look at is the price right in the market. We always have to look at our competitors. Remember, again, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're an actor, you are competing with somebody.
True.
So as marketing custodians of brands, is that we have to always look at our competitors. What are the competitors doing better than what we're doing? What are our competitors up to? Because when you're number one as well, I've had the pleasure of working on South Africa's heritage number one brands, and I know people think it's easy. It's probably the hardest because everybody wants your position. So you constantly, you must maintain and grow that position. So you're constantly watching what the competitor wants to do, and you're constantly wanting to make Tastic better than the competitor that's following you. So it's probably the hardest job. But if you don't watch, if you live in a bubble and watch your competitors, it's happened to brands before, you die. And also understanding your consumers is quite important, because if you also don't understand what your consumers are doing and what makes them tick at the moment, like you sitting from your kitchen, you're doing a podcast, so you fully now understanding what your consumers are interested in. Otherwise, then if you don't, you will die. How many tombolas can you make? So it's about really evolving. So it's the same with brands. So can it be rice only? No, it must be rice cakes, it must be rice meals, it must be this. So you have to look at consumer trends and what consumers are looking for in order to grow that brand and remain relevant with our consumers. So that's what we do.
I love that. I love that it's holistically, this function that's so holistic in the business. It's not just about taking the pretty picture or the ad. It's about so much more, the pricing and how consumers feel. And I know that consumers are very key to your heart. I mean, you've spoken many times about how you think it all starts with the consumer. Yeah. So I'd like to hear about your career calling. Take me back to the beginning. How does Thembi become this formidable Thembi that we have now?
I think, okay, let me take you back. I first wanted to be a doctor, and I thought I can't cut dead people. Then I did finance. So I did become accounting, and I thought I would balance books for the rest of my life. Did audits, did all of that, and then Unilever was recruiting. I was at RAW, which is now UJ.
Yeah.
I started Unilever Finance, and then what Unilever does for you, which is amazing, is that they literally open up the whole business to say, doesn't matter what you studied, what is it that you want to do? What makes you tick?
Yeah, expose you to
everything.
business.
And I thought, you know what? For me, marketing is like running a business, and finance is running a business. So I was like, I would like to go into marketing. So they gave me that scope and opportunity, but then I left Unilever for Tiger immediately after that. Got recruited at Tiger as a marketing person. And I think for me, what has really worked, and again, I'm going to go back to leadership, and identifying, I call it cheerleaders. I walked into the business, I was a little finance graduate, and I found cheerleaders, people who were anchored your career. So my passion has always been about making money, because I want the P&L to work, but my passion has always been about, like when I got into marketing, I understood, I love people in general, like I just really love people and I love understanding people. And unfortunately for me, it's something I love, but it's critical to the job we do. So I always say like all the campaigns that we've done that have been formidable to your description have been based on a true understanding of consumers. And when you do understand consumers, whatever campaign you do that is really linked to understanding consumers works, because you're not trying to force something onto consumers. You have spent the time to understand what is it that they want and what is it that makes them move. So for me, that's really it's been my journey. I think the key ingredients that have made it successful for me has been having the right people and understanding who are the right people that must surround you to support your career. Having the right mentors, so there's mentors that are mentoring you as a person, but there's mentors that are mentoring you around just the career in itself. So I surround yourself with people who are cleverer than you. I don't want to be the cleverest people in the room. Like, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's the worst thing, because you become comfortable. You want people to challenge you. I always encourage it in my team. Like, you must challenge me, because I learned from somebody who's just walked through the door. So there's that, and also just understanding what is the core thing that makes your job turn. And for me, it has been, if you understand the consumer, you win.
So why food? I mean, marketing has so many other disciplines.
Yeah.
You could have gone into beauty, into motoring, into so many other fields. Why food?
I didn't choose
Why have you stayed so long? So even if you didn't choose it, why did you stay so long? From AVI to Tiger Brands, I mean, your career has been so much in food.
Yeah, I'm gonna say again, FMCG I know FMCG has got personal care and all of that.
Yeah.
FMCG food chose me, I didn't choose it. But once I was in there, I think the brands were the reason that I stayed. I just loved the brands that I worked on. I have, not that I even tried to go to personal care and other fields, but maybe it's because I love the relationship that consumers have with food. I think it's so emotive, and like the things you do with brands in food are very different to personal care, where it's very artificial and in your face, but with food it's always a heart-driven thing, and what I loved about the food brands I've worked on, and most food brands, it's outwardly versus inwardly. So like on Ku, it's about, I love to see my family enjoy the food I make. It's about other people enjoying the food. I really just absolutely always enjoyed the brands. Like the food brands are just interesting, and how and particularly for me, heritage brands, and how it's so hard, it's so challenging to evolve them, but it's such a beautiful challenge to understand that you can't overdo it, but you need to do it. Like, I always say that the tension was quite interesting. Like, how do you make Tastic sexy? It's just rice, and it's everybody's most loved rice, and how do you make it sexy? You partner with David Tlale and put it on the catwalk, and suddenly it's sexy. But you're not really messing with the brand, but you're just making consumers see it in a different light. It's still rice, you're still gonna cook it, it's gonna swell more than 3 times, but you're evolving it. You're finding ways. I always, when I present in the boardroom, when I open up my presentation, I always say, Good morning, my name is Thembi. I wake up every morning to make carbohydrates sexy. It's such a tension because people think carbs make them fat. And my job,
you make them sexy.
Yeah, my job is to, in the minds of consumers, make carbohydrates sexy.
And you've done it so well.
Yeah.
Well done
Thanks.
to everything that you've done. My favorite brand, Tastic.
Yeah.
What you've done there really was amazing. I mean, it's a heritage brand. Everybody knows it. We all grew up with it.
Yeah.
But how do you keep it topical? How do you make it relevant to the young market? And you've done that so well. Thank you.
And I think one of the points, I think I mentioned it, I'm repeating it, but maybe it's quite a critical point, is that a heritage brand like Tastic is not going to evolve if it stays where it is. And I always say, like, you need to find consumers where they are. It's not about talking at consumers, it's about being with consumers. So understanding, I'll give you, it's a silly example, but it's the correct example because you're sitting here. What we knew for sure is that consumers are following Lazy Makoti. And surprise, surprise, we chose you because we know that consumers are going to come to you. When they come to you and Tastic is sitting next to you, we build the resonance. Oh, Tastic understands that I like Lazy Makoti, and there is my Tastic with Lazy Makoti. Because sometimes people don't follow brands, they follow people.
So it's about hitting that sweet spot between, evolving a brand, but also keeping its brand DNA
Relevant.
and not eroding that. Yeah. And then you spoke about the BCom accounting degree that you have. I'm a big fan of education and equipping yourself.
Yeah.
So tell me about, your educational background and how you feel it, added to your path and to where you are right now.
Okay, so I'll start with high school. So I went to a school called Renpark High, which is in Renpark Ridge. I was the first black girl, well, the only black person in the whole school.
Really?
Yeah.
In the whole school?
In the whole school for the first year. There was one more or two more that came in the second year. And my mom didn't even tell me. So I arrived at the school and boom, and I was the only black girl. The ground staff were the only people I could identify with. So that's where I started. And I guess how that shapes your education, shapes your journey. I had to win. I just had this thing that in the environment I am at right now, I cannot let every black person down.
I mean, everyone down.
Yes,
the weight of the world on your shoulders.
It's just like, I have to do this and I have to do it right. So I remember my like this story that I always tell. Like I remember my teacher, we had a maths test or whatever. Like I've always been good with numbers, so I had the highest mark in the class. And the assumption was that I'm not as clever as I should. There were many assumptions about me. I could always swim, so I arrived at the school and they're like, "Oh, she's black, she can't swim." So I was always just fighting stereotypes, but not fighting stereotypes verbally and screaming at the stereotypes, but I had to fight stereotype by doing.
Yeah.
So academics were very important to my mother. Like my mother would be like, the only thing I'm going to leave you with as inheritance is education. So she did not play. Like, why are you getting 70? Why you don't have a bond? Can you just study harder? So I always had that drive. I was very afraid of my mom, but I was also very afraid of failure. So, and that's how, and I knew that education is going to be a catalyst for my growth, and I knew that education is going to open doors for me. So I was always clear that without education, I'm not going to be anything. So that was my focus. And anybody who went to school with me knows that, like, I was highly driven at school. I always wanted to disprove the stereotypes around black people, and disprove, particularly the one that we're not clever, or maybe we just don't know, we can't do better than anyone else. And I wanted to do better than everybody else because I wanted to show them that we are better.
That's amazing. I can't imagine as a little girl walking into a school and nobody looks like you.
Nobody looked like me. I had your afro. I still do. Nobody looked like me. It was straight hair. It was light-skinned. Everything was different. I had no identity. I didn't even have the example of excellence.
True.
It didn't look like me. And I mean, like another funny story. The principal, my name, like I've got two names, Thembi Sehloho, Susan, and the principal said, "I think we should use Susan. It should be easier for everyone."
Of course.
And like some of the things like I think about, I'm like, I should have said no. But all you wanted to do, so there's lots of compromises because you want to fit in. You also just want to fit in and stand your course and finish your course. But in hindsight, some of the things like one should have been like, no, you know. I know better now, and I know black girls are saying no to a lot of things now, which is amazing to watch. Yeah. So that was my journey. I really just wanted to succeed, and then I got a scholarship to go to UJ. At first I was going to go to vet and medical school. I was like, ooh, I don't want to. I wanted to be a vet. That's really what I wanted to be. Believe it or not, it's more difficult to get into veterinary than medical school.
Really?
Yeah. Because you specialize in instantly.
I guess,
we're dealing with things that don't speak. So it was much harder. So medicine was easier, but I didn't want to dissect. But I regret it in a way. Sometimes I regret it, like I really want to do something with a purpose.
The rest of South Africa does not regret that.
I do sometimes. I'm like, oh, she could have been a doctor. I'm much better than this. But anyway, then I got a scholarship from the Institute of Chartered Accountants to become an accountant. Then I was at RAU doing my base degree, and then I just was about to move to my honors, and I was like, nah, this is not for me. I had done audits with Ernst & Young, all these companies, and I was like, I can't be doing this every day. Yeah. But then Unilever recruited us, then I went to Unilever and quickly switched to marketing. There was marketing in one course of marketing. But like I say, marketing is not just about pretty pictures, it's running a business. So it wasn't a difficult transition for me. And I recently completed my honors. I did it in memory of my mom. I've always, not honors, sorry, masters. I recently completed my masters, sorry.
And your masters was in?
In leadership and innovation.
Amazing.
Because I love leadership, and innovation is what makes the world go round. What we're sitting here doing right now is innovation. So I did it through Edinburgh, and I did it like in memory of my mom because she really loved education, and I did it for me. I'm not sure whether it progresses my career or anything like that, but it's one of those things. You know, when you do something for yourself, it changes the game altogether because you're not outwardly trying to do it for everybody else. And I took long to do it because I wanted to do the right one that talked to me and all of that. So I completed that, and I'm very grateful. It was difficult, 2 years and a bit. And I know you're going to be like, yo, how did you put everything together?
That's my next question.
So I think, and you know, some of the projects that I ran on Tastic, I am a big spokesperson for education because, like I said, I think we need to educate. And you know, for me, equality is not educating girls. Equality is educating everybody. You need to educate boys and girls because you can't leave the boy behind as well. So I remember I ran the education fund through the Tastic campaign. And really that was my, like, you know, it's one of those things that resonated with me because I feel my mother, bless her soul, there's no better gift that she could have left me with millions in the bank account. I probably would have spent all of them or whatever. Like, but with when somebody gives you a gift of education, they're giving you a gift of life. It's forever. So, yeah, that's me.
And for all your incredible accolades, you must be you must be able to build exceptional teams. What does it take, and how do you go about putting together a team that's as excellent as you and can deliver on all your promises?
I think for me, that not everybody in the team has got to be excellent. Sometimes can be taught. I always employ people on attitude because I think you can't teach attitude.
Sure.
Everything else you can be taught. So that's how I've gone about it. I have said, does the person have the right attitude?
And what is the right attitude?
Are you willing to learn? Are you open to learning? Are you driven? Are you highly ambitious? So it's all of those things that, and young people today, I'm gonna sound very old, but young people today, they think that things are just easy. So and I watch for that, so are you hardworking? Because nothing is gonna come to you without hard work. Sure. So, and if I see those qualities in a person rather than just they lack the skill that I want, I always know that it's easy to teach them the skill that they want, the skill that I want. So that's how I've always built teams. I've built teams on absolute attitude, And I've always focused on ensuring that my team buys into my vision. And by saying that, I'm not saying that I'm forcing my vision onto anyone, but I'm also not dictating my vision onto anyone. So, which is why, like, strategically, I've always gotten everybody involved, because it feels like our baby rather than my baby. So that's how really I've managed to work with people where it feels like we are a family, because it's our purpose rather than my purpose. They say there's no I in team. So I've always, if you don't agree with me, please do tell me. It doesn't mean that I will always change everything for everybody, but when people feel heard and seen, then they just work differently.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I think that is so key, to involve everyone in the process, rather than them getting the message at the tail end and not really buying into what it is that we're doing here. What would you say are the ingredients for a winning, memorable brand that's going to connect with South Africa, with our hearts and obviously our pockets, but a brand that's going to connect with South Africa?
Okay. I think it's a brand that delivers a message that aligns to the audience. So I think whenever you build messages for brands, it's got to be relevant to the target market you're talking to. It's got to be memorable for them. Like, I was singing with my son yesterday, Camperoos chomp, 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 chomp. Like that ad I used to listen to when I was a baby. So it's memorable, right? And unexpected.
I feel like they don't make jingles anymore.
They don't.
I can't remember an ad I last saw that I'm like...
A jingle,
yeah.
So, and also unexpected, because it's about standing out. Like, I'm going to go back to you. It's unexpected that you're doing a podcast and we're not eating. Like, I walked in here, I'm like, where's the food? Where is the food? So, but that's unexpected. You are evolving your brand. So I think that for me are the ingredients of a memorable brand, and a brand that, again, underpinned, all of that is great, but underpinned by evolution. You've got to evolve your brand. Don't destroy it, because if you destroy it, you have a lion lager, it's gone. It was here today, it's gone tomorrow. So you've got to be sensitive and not change the brand's absolute DNA at the core. But when I say that, is that Mogau inside has not changed, but we've just put a bit of makeup and made ourselves pretty. But it does not mean your DNA as a traditional, authentic, Pedi woman. Remember that a brand also has that. So if you destroy its identity, you destroy the brand. You might as well bury it. And people are never going to relate to something that's not real.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's such a balance between, keeping the authentic identity and then chasing some sort of relevance.
Yeah.
So what would you say, how do you focus on honing in a strategy in a way that pushes boundaries, so seeking to make the brand relevant, to make it fresh, but doesn't feel opportunistic, doesn't feel like you're eroding that core brand message?
I'll use an example. I won't use you this time. So I'll say the most important thing is making sure you're not destroying the brand DNA, right? But relevance has got to resonate with your target consumer. So, like, if you look at the Heritage campaign, what we did there, we said we're celebrating iconic South Africans while they are still alive. But who you partner with cannot be so far removed from your brand.
True.
I'm not going to mention any names, but so far removed from the brand values and the brand, aesthetics that the brand stands for, particularly the brand values. So we always try to find, we wouldn't have partnered with you even if your values were not
aligned,
quite close to the brand. But by partnering with you, there's an evolution of the brand. People are seeing this brand in a different light. So you partner with somebody like Laduma. The values of the brand, Makosa, is closely aligned to what the values of Tastic are. It's about truly South African, traditional, grounded in its roots, but very fashionable and out there. So we all borrow from each other. So I think that was I didn't know a better way of explaining it in terms of how do you move forward without destroying what the brand is. And you've seen a lot of partnerships where you're like,
Why? Who made this decision?
Like how?
Yeah,
How are these things, coming together? And as a consumer, you're sitting there trying to force them together, but there's nothing that really a golden thread that kind of pulls them together without fighting with each other. And you cannot partner if it destroys your brand or destroys the other brand. We've got to partner so that we both build a holistic brand and benefits. I mean, Tastic is a big brand. For like Duma to partner with Tastic was huge. It goes into like millions and millions of households in South Africa. His design. You might not be able to afford a Maxxosa.
So speaking of that, what happens when a brand happens to get it wrong? So you send out this messaging, and then the market or the consumer completely misses it, doesn't get it, cue Black Twitter.
Yeah.
How do you save it?
Sure, it depends on how big the brand is.
Yeah.
That's why we've got an above the line, which is TV and all of that agencies. You've got people who are on the ground, you've got influencers, because those are all brand assets. And then you've got a PR agency. And the role of PR is really to manage the noise, and you have to respond very quickly. So if you see that it's not working, you have to have a message that counters that, and obviously the job is to try and save the brand. But unfortunately, brands have died from such issues. I mean, when we were very intentional. There are brands who can, like a Nando's and a Chicken Licken, can communicate in spaces that a Tastic cannot. And it's also just understanding your where is it that I can never run a comrade. I'm very fit. But sometimes people see trends and marketers think, oh, now we can all jump into the trend. I want to jump into the
jump into every conversation.
But your brand might not be fit for that purpose. So ensure that you understand that your brand is fit for purpose. So there's no way I can communicate like a Nando's. I mean, with the brands I've worked on, like a Tastic can't rock up like a Nando's. It doesn't make sense. So it's also marketers just understanding that and understanding this is not my turf. Because you don't have to manage, the role is to manage PR. The role of PR is to manage the disaster before it even happens, not get into the disaster and try to pull yourself out. Where is Liyon like today? Did. Yeah. There are many examples of brands that have died from not fully understanding what they're capable of. It's like a human being. If you're gonna jump off a plane without any parachute, you're gonna die. Yeah, so I always say a brand is a person. I always look at it like that. And I always say to my people, you are a brand. We manage brands, but we also brands. And I know for you that's quite relevant. But in a corporate environment, you are a brand. How you move, how you talk, how you walk will define how people see you. So brands deserve the same respect because how they walk, how they talk, brands are people. So we need to treat them with the same respect.
Yeah, and speaking about brands dying, because that is a very real possibility, I'm interested, the relationship between your function, the marketing function, and new product development.
Yeah.
And what would you say that relationship is?
It's a very close relationship.
I can imagine.
It's a very close, because product, so you have a product development department that sits and works on new ideas, and sometimes we also as brand work on strategy, and we say, okay, fine, the brand today is rice, and you want the brand to be convenient meals, you want it to be snacking, you want it to be that, and then you give that strategy to them. They work on stuff. I mean, sometimes they can come and say, I don't know what good example can I give you.
I think you did give it earlier about the rice. Then we have to have rice cakes. We have to,
but I'm just saying off the flip side, where you are and you're thinking, what are they doing? Like Cerebos is launching instant noodles, for example. I battled with that a bit. Like I don't know what to think. I had to think like a marketer to say, they are in seasoning, so instant noodles are about seasoning. But if Fattis and Monis is launching an instant noodle, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
So the relationship has to be that close so that you can know what's right for your brand. Again, it goes back, what is right for your brand? That's why the brand key or the brand DNA is quite important, the brand blueprint. Because then it's easy for you to say, strategy is here, this is my blueprint. Does this new product proposed fit into my brand? If it doesn't, there's other brands that can carry it in the business. Because it could be a high profit space, but I can't launch an Oros under Tastic. It doesn't make sense. It could be a big brand, but maybe there's another brand, an Oros equivalent, that can carry that in the business. So it's really that. I think if you focus, even you, Mogau, if you build your blueprint, which these are the things that Mogau is about, and these are the things that Mogau is not about, then it's easy for you to even reject a 2 million rand deal, because it's not about Mogau. So you must decide whether you go for the money or you go for protecting your brand, because your brand is more a long-term asset. The money is temporary.
And thinking about what you're sacrificing for that money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can take the 2 million now and sacrifice the brand Mogau for the future, or you can say no to the 2 million and build the brand Mogau for the future and end up with a 20 million rand deal. So it's really about how you have faith on your brand. If you don't have faith, then take anything that comes your way. But if you have faith in what you're building and what you stand for, I promise you something bigger is coming in the future. So that's my only advice to you as a brand.
No, I hear you. I'm taking that in. So as this person who wears so many hats, do you ever rest? What does rest look like for you? What do you do when you're not working? Are you ever not working?
I am. Like I think I'm very intentional about things that matter to me. I know everybody thinks, those who follow me on social media like yourself, see me at gym every morning, but for me, that is me time. When it started obviously as a journey of, I want to look fit and look good, but it became a holistic journey of health and wellness, mental health, physical health, being able to bring the best version of myself as Thembi to people. Gym allows me the space. When I'm at gym, I'm not anybody's wife, I'm not anybody's mother, I'm not anybody's boss, I'm not, I hate the name boss, but my team like boss lady, anybody's leader. I'm just Thembi, trying to take care of Thembi. And that hour for me is mine, holistically. So that's what I give myself the hour every single day. That's what I do. And then the rest of the day is controlled by everything else that is my responsibility that I have taken up. And the other hour, the other time where I force me time is when I bake. I bake to distress. I love it. I don't know, maybe it's the science of it. Because I'm a natural cook and I can throw everything, but for baking I have to measure everything. I love that when I'm stressed, I bake. That's me again, giving myself me time. Love it.
And you can slow down and
zone out and focus on the measurements of the vanilla essence and all of that. So I think you need to be intentional about the things that give you joy. Because then when you do the things that give you joy, you refill your cup so that you're able to do the things that you need to do.
You can't pour
survive.
from an empty cup.
You can't pour from an empty cup. So I'm very intentional about those things. They're small, but they make a big difference in my life. Yeah.
Absolutely. So for someone listening, and they would one day love to be where you are, what would you say is like sort of the roadmap? Obviously not perfect, but what advice would you impart? This is how you get to where I am today. Okay,
I think, I hope I answer this properly, but failure is part of the process. I think people are afraid of failure because we all are. Nobody wants to fail. So I think in whatever journey you are taking in life, whether you're deciding, I'm going to sell a quarter, you must prepare yourself for failure. But failure is not the reason not to continue.
True.
So if you're I'm going to talk about my journey because it's a corporate journey. I think number one, know who you are, because the winds and the storms are going to sway you in all sorts of direction. Find your team of support and cheerleaders. You need people. You cannot do this by yourself. No? And then work really hard. And unfortunately for us, being black and being a woman, you have to work 3 times harder than everybody else. And you can sit and complain about it, or you can just do it so that you can be clear that I want to get, if your vision is clear, everything else you have to do to get there will not trip you.
True.
So I think understand that. I think those are really the 3 things. It's really, and also empower yourself, educate yourself, whether through education or whatever else you're doing, but empower yourself so that you show up as the best version of yourself. So if you want to be in marketing, go get your marketing degree or diploma and empower yourself. So give yourself the head start that you're requiring and And you do that by scanning and analyzing where you want to be. So for me, I think those are the 4 things. But knowing yourself is so important. So at the beginning, know your vision, then know yourself, so that you are not going through metamorphosis in a bad way to try and get to your vision, but you are going through metamorphosis in the right way of growth, in order, because you have to evolve to get there. Like I was a assistant brand manager looking after Tinkies and Beacon as a brand, but that Thembi is different to a Thembi who's leading a team of people cross-functionally. So you have to empower and evolve yourself to be able to be that person you're required to be going forward. And the team is very important.
Yeah. So your name has become synonymous with excellence. But at what point did you know? Tell me about that moment where you just knew, I've cemented myself, to me, to the world. Like now I know, yeah, I really am a master at this.
I don't know if I know that, to be honest. I'm not
okay,
gonna
when
lie.
other people saw,
I'm not
then,
gonna
okay,
lie.
I think Thembi knows what she's doing.
I know what I'm doing, but I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm still. I feel like it's an evolution. Especially leadership, because when you get to a certain level, it's not really about what you do, it's about how you lead the people who do it for you.
Sure.
So that's always an evolution. But the point where I knew I had potential, this is the
Potential.
point. Potential. The point where I knew I had potential is when I was a marketing manager on Ku. And Ku won #1, like the Sunday Times most loved brand, ahead of Coca-Cola in the country, ahead of Coca-Cola, Vodacom, MTN, and all the big brands. Our budget was at the time maybe about 15 to 20 million, which is very small in marketing. And Coke were dealing with millions, like
a global player.
A global player. It's a big joke with my now ex-dotted line boss, Zaid, who's the CMO at Tiger Brands. He was at Coke at the time, and we interviewed together, and I was like, oh, I'm interviewed with Coca-Cola, and I'm just cool.
And you're #1.
And I'm #1. Yeah, so it was at that point that I knew that I had potential, and I would never let my lights be dimmed from that point. And it's not an ego, it's just ensuring that in every room you walk in, you are selling your story in a confident, believable way, because then you have to believe in yourself as you walk in, and you will be challenged. And in that challenge, and I always say, when people challenge you or advise you, take what builds you and leave what does not build you. And because even in the negative, there's something that builds you.
Sure.
Yeah. So at that point, that interview, I knew.
Yeah. And then speaking of challenges, what are those challenges along the way in building your career, in getting to today? What were those challenges?
I think it's the challenges of being seen and being heard. It's probably the first big challenge you have to leap over, when you're just sitting in the room and you're like, hey, I just said that. I'm saying that, like, and you know, it's a big challenge, but through your work, I think consistency and your dedication, eventually people have no choice but to see you and hear you. For me, that has been the biggest challenge. It's just hear me and see me. And I think being a black female, it's a very hard challenge to make people understand that you have earned your seat at the table. And no matter, like, sometimes how hard you work, some people will never believe that you've earned the seats at the table when you have. But it's okay, because then you look at yourself and you know you've earned the seats at the table, and there's a point where there's nothing they can do about it. But that comes through results, hard work, and consistently delivering the results.
Absolutely. So with so much success under your belt, what could possibly be next for Thembi? What haven't you done? What's the next frontier? What does the next chapter look like? What's the next thing that you want to conquer? This is personal and career.
Personal, I want to just, by the way, I'm a action junkie. That's why I jump with dolphins. I've done bungees, I've done all of that. I just want to jump off a plane. I want to just
adrenaline
skydive.
girl.
I love it. So I just really I want to skydive. That's what I want to do on a personal level.
Yes.
I don't want to do any school. I've had enough of school. But the journey of educating yourself does not end. Maybe I'm saying I don't want to do a doctorate or anything like that. I hope I can get like Tebe Gafalin, get an honorary.
So no PhDs in your future.
I don't want, unless somebody wants to give it to me. I don't know based on what, but anyway. But with that said, I'm not saying I'm not going to continue to study in other ways or teach myself in other ways. That's on a personal front. I want to continue to travel because I'm on country number 31. I just want to keep adding. I love that. I think travel opens up your world completely. From a career perspective, are you asking me where I'm going after Tiger?
Yes. The big question is, where are you going?
Where am I going?
You keep saying ex-boss. Where are you going? What's the next chapter?
So I left Tiger I've left Tiger as you know. Now. I've been appointed as the Chief Marketing Officer for Tourism South Africa. So very challenging job. All jobs are challenging. So I've gone, it's quite surreal because I've gone from marketing baked beans, tomato sauce, mayonnaise, rice, pasta to the country. I think it's a mammoth task. I just pray that it was God ordained, and the reason I've been placed there is to fulfill a purpose. I love my country. I think despite the challenges, we have challenges like every other country in the world. This is the most beautiful country in the world, and we've got a lot to offer. I just pray that I can live, when I leave this role, I can leave the brand South Africa and the brand Tourism South Africa in a better place than I found it, because that's always my mission. Where is it now? And when I leave, can I look back? I always say I want to write a book I can read. I can enjoy reading. So when I look back, I want to look back and say, wow, I left it in a better place than how I found it. So I'm absolutely humbled by the opportunity. And I absolutely pray that I can glorify God through the opportunity that I've been given. So that's my next.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is such amazing news. It's amazing to know that you will be at the helm of like brand South Africa and what the world will see to be South Africa, the beautiful country that it is. So all the best with your new role.
Thanks.
And we truly can't wait to see what you will do with it.
Thank you. Pray for me.
We will. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been so lovely. Thank you so much for sharing so freely. I hope someone out there listening at home, we've built a team of marketing directors of the future.
Yes, please come and join marketing. It's still the career of the future.
It is.
Yeah, and thank you for the invite, Mogau, and I wish you all the best. And I think this platform is a wonderful platform and may empower others to be greater even than you. I think that's your purpose, is that you want to see people do great things. And may people learn from it, and may it continue to grow from strength to strength. And thank you for the invite. I feel honored. It's an absolute privilege. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to you. This has been Chefing Beyond the Kitchen. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.